Derby County face a huge summer rebuild this summer should they stay in the Championship, and even if they do go down to League One. I've identified 10 players who I believe could improve this Derby County squad or continue to stay across the course of this summer transfer window. But what are some players who you think Derby County should go after this season? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But shall we start off with number 10? Now, in at number 10 is a Peterborough United forward who goes by the name of Kwame Poku. Now, Kwame Poku is 23 years of age and has been playing for Peterborough for a couple of seasons now and has been a very, very impressive talent in that League One division for Peterborough United. Now, this season, he's made 27 appearances, scoring 12 goals, 11 assists across 2,081 minutes, playing a range of different positions on the right-hand side, through the middle, and even on that left-hand side as well. Now, I think that Kwame Poku is a really good talent that Derby County could potentially be chasing. And with his contract set to expire this summer, it's one, in my opinion, which Derby County should absolutely try and get their hands on. Whether it be a relegation down to League One or even staying in the Championship, I think it would be an excellent move for Derby County. He's had some really, really good seasons across the course of his time at Peterborough and in League One. And I do think he's earned that opportunity to come up to the Championship, similar to the likes of Epsom Mason Clark, the likes of Ivan Toney over the course of the last few years. Now, obviously, I believe they're playing in the FA Trophy, AFL Trophy, Papa John's Trophy, whatever it's called nowadays, this afternoon, which will be a very, very important game for him to potentially collect another set of silverware. Now, obviously, number 9 is a player who Derby fans will know well and will have learnt a lot about this season. It's another player who is out of contract, currently contracted to Ipswich Town, but is on loan at Derby County. And it is number 18, Marcus Harness. Now, Marcus Harness is currently 29 years old, is an attacking midfielder, valued at €800,000 according to that of Transfer Market. But for me, I think there's a massive opportunity here for Derby County to sort of build on what they've already built this season. And I think Marcus Harness has been a massive part of what John Eustace has done at Derby County over the course of the last few weeks. I think he's collected pretty much all of his goals this season and assists under John Eustace. I think there's only one that came earlier in the season. And obviously, for Marcus Harness, his contract is up at Ipswich at the end of the year. This season, he's played 41 times for Derby, 4 goals, 2 assists in 2,249 minutes. He's played a wide range of different positions, including as a centre-forward, alongside Jerry Yates in that number 10 role, and on either wing. And for me, I think he could be a massive, massive player for John Eustace going forward into next season. A player who he's already worked with and already sort of built that relationship with heading into next season. Now, obviously, for Marcus Harness, there obviously is that potential that he could stay at Ipswich Town, but I certainly think a move to Derby County will certainly open that door for Marcus Harness to go on to that next level towards the back end of his career. I know a lot of people will be saying he's 29, we sort of need a little bit younger, but you need that experience in there as well, and Marcus Harness has shown that he's well within the ability level for the Championship. Shall we now go on to number 8, and it's another Championship player, another player who's out of contract at the end of this season, currently playing for Preston North End. It's Emil Riis Jakobsen. Now, he used to play for Derby County's academy 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago now, and has gone on from strength to strength since leaving Derby County, obviously then earning himself a move to Preston back in October of 2020. And for me, the 26-year-old forward can still go on to like tremendous levels. He's valued at around €2.5 million at the moment, but I do believe his contract is up at the end of this season with Preston North End, and obviously at the moment they're under new management, so there is a potential that he could potentially be moved on from his position. Now, if we look at his season as a whole, 46 appearances, 10 goals, 2 assists in 2,713 minutes, with all of his games coming as a centre forward. Now, for me, I really like the potential sign of Emil Riis Jakobsen. It gives us that option for 2 really tall strikers in Lars-Jørgen Selvesen and potentially Emil Riis. And obviously, Emil Riis still has growth in him. He's only 26 years old. He's probably got another 10 years left in his career, which could be absolutely massive for Derby County as they look to build into sort of a stable Championship team, potentially pushing for those playoff positions. Now, ultimately, a lot of these players that we're looking at here are out of contract at the end of the season, which makes these deals more possible than you think, but it's one of those which John Eustace will have to keep a keen eye on. Now on to number 7. It's a player who I don't think would come in and be an instant first team player for Derby County, but certainly someone who I think could sort of push on to be a first team player in the Championship over the course of the next few years. And it's Stoke City's forward, Emre Tezgel. He's 19 years old, 1.82 metres tall, and his contract expires at the end of this season. Now, over the course of this season, he's made 12 Championship appearances for Stoke. He's played a couple of times in the AFL Cup and in the AFL Trophy, with 2 senior goals to his name this year in about 500 minutes. He's also played 5 games in Premier League 2, scoring 11 times this season. Now, I do believe that he'll probably get his contract extended at Stoke City, but at the moment he's looks as if he's potentially open to a move, and he's born in Burton, so it sort of opens that door that Derby County could swoop in. Obviously an England under-20 international as well, and it could be a massive signing for Derby County should they get this one done. And I think it would be an absolute magnificent signing, not just for Derby County now, but also for Derby County in the future. Now on to number 6, and that is Nat Phillips. He's been at Derby County since the start of the season, and it took a long time for Nat Phillips to get himself into the Derby County side, but since getting into the side under John Eustace, he has been absolutely phenomenal and probably one of our better players, with people even calling that he could potentially be pushing for Player of the Year at the end of this season, despite the fact that he's not really been a starter this year. Now, similarly to a lot of the players that you've already seen so far, his contract is up at Liverpool at the end of this season, which opens up that door for Derby County to go in with a free transfer and potentially bring him in. Now, obviously the recent performances that he's put in will certainly open that conversation for other teams to take a look at him, which is one of the main reasons why Derby County must stay in the Championship, to be able to get hold of a ton of these players. Now this season, 29 appearances, 3 assists and 1,917 minutes. Every single game for him has come in that centre-back position, and I believe Nat Phillips has been really good for Derby this season. I think especially under John Eustace, he's just gone from strength to strength. Now, obviously, his contract at Liverpool is valued at around £65,000 a week, which is obviously something Derby County aren't going to match, and I don't think many Championship clubs are going to match either. So it's one of those for me where at 28 years old, he's probably going to drop those wage demands and he's going to get himself a good Championship move. But is that going to be to Derby County? Because I certainly think that John Eustace has built a decent relationship across the course of that back three, and that could certainly open the door for that back three to continue heading into next year. And there's no reason why Derby County can't also add even more quality to the back three as well. So when it comes to next season, we've got a ton of great options. At 28 years old, he's still got a fair few years ahead of him, but will he be one that John Eustace is looking at this season? Let me know in the comments. Now, next up, a lot of you will know Derby County really need a left back, and the player that I've identified, I think it's number 5 we're on now, is Derry Murkin from FC Schalke in the second Bundesliga. He's a left-back born in Colchester, 25 years of age, currently valued at €1.8 million, and he's played 28 games this season with 3 assists, 2,352 minutes across the course of left-back, left wing-back, and in that defensive midfield position. Now, for me, I think this could be a really good move for Derby because he's 25 years old. He can add that support to Callum Elder and Craig Forsyth, who are out there at the moment. Obviously, Craig Forsyth might not even get a contract extension. But the only issue with this one is his contract doesn't expire until next season. And that, in my opinion, it's going to be sort of a bit of a expensive transfer maybe. I think maybe upwards in the region of £1.5 million, but I certainly think it's a deal that Derby County could potentially get done, and it's certainly one which Derby County must look at over the course of the next few weeks and months. I do believe that Derry Murkin would certainly improve this Derby County side, especially in that left-back position where we're sort of lacking options at the moment across the course of the last few weeks. And obviously heading into next season, we're going to want to bolster our squad and make the squad a lot better than what it is. Now on to number 4. Another player who Derby fans will probably know well, and he goes by the name of John Swift. Currently playing for West Bromwich Albion, he's a central midfielder born in Portsmouth. Another player who is towards the back end of his career at 29 years old, but it's one of those for me where I think he can certainly add a lot to Derby County into next season. We need to get some experience in that midfield in the Championship level, which is something I think we've lacked across the course of this season. And he's got plenty of Championship experience, including this year, where he's made 36 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist, 1,759 minutes for playoff chasing West Bromwich Albion. His contract expires at the end of this season. Now, obviously, there is the possibility that he could renew his contract at West Brom, and that's obviously something which Derby County will have to sort of discuss within themselves. But we went after John Swift in the January transfer window, and he's probably still on the list. And in my opinion, he certainly should be on the list because he's a player who could certainly add to this Derby County midfield. I think he's got a lot of quality, and I certainly think he's a player who could add to this Derby County squad. Now, let's get into the final three, starting off with a player who we've had on loan this season, who I'd love for Derby County to get back on loan next season, and it falls into the name of Harrison Armstrong. Now, obviously, when he came in, I was a bit sort of on edge about this signing because obviously with his age, his lack of senior appearances, you never really knew what was going to come from him. But he's gone from strength to strength since breaking into the first team. I think it was against Middlesbrough where he made his first start, and he's been absolutely unbelievable, if I can be completely honest with you. 11 appearances, 1 goal. He's really dictated the play in that midfield, and he's really had a massive impact on the likes of Liam Thompson, the likes of Ebo Adams, who has been alongside. Now, obviously, his contract at Everton doesn't end until 2028, so it would be a second loan deal. But it's one of those for me where at 18 years old, he's probably not going to be a starting player for Everton next season. So why not let him come back to Derby County? Should we still be in the Championship? And see if he can build on that season that he's had so far this year. And I certainly think that's something which Derby County should be moving for. There is a lot of talk that some other Championship clubs potentially interested in Armstrong this summer, given the performances he's put in at Derby County, which does not surprise me. But hopefully the relationship built between John Eustace and Armstrong and the coaching staff and players at Derby County will help potentially make that deal come back next season. Now, on to number 2. It's a player who we spoke about a lot in the January transfer window, a player who Derby County had reportedly agreed a deal of about £3.5 million for with FC Borussia Mönchengladbach of Germany. But ultimately, FC Utrecht stood in the way, and at number 2 comes Oscar Fraulo, the 21-year-old Danish midfielder. He's played 19 times for Denmark's under-21s, and his contract with Utrecht it ends this season as it's a loan deal, but there is the option to buy, from FC Utrecht, to buy him from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now, for me, since that January sort of debacle, I don't really think he's played that many games, which is obviously disappointing for him. But it's one of those where he's made, I think it's 25 appearances he's made this season, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's a player for me who I certainly believe could come into Derby County and improve that midfield. I spoke about him a lot in the January transfer window, and even there's a video with his highlight reel in, and I think he is a player who could certainly go from strength to strength with Derby County, moving over to England, and I think it would sort of help the likes of Kenzo Heldmine in there as well, with more sort of technically minded players, and Derby County going to more of a system where they can sort of use the ball a lot better than what we've been doing recently. I think that's why some of our better players have sort of gone by the wayside at the moment, because we're just sort of ratting about, making sure we can pick up points and results, and ultimately it's worked. But is that something which we're going to have to follow next season? You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now on to the final signing, a player who, if Derby County stay in the Championship, I think John Eustace will certainly make an offer for, and he goes by the name of Tyrhys Dolan, the 23-year-old Blackburn winger. He was a massive player for John Eustace at Blackburn, and John Eustace had a massive impact on getting him back to his best over the course of the last 12 months. And with his contract expiring at the end of this season, I think there's certainly an opportunity, should Derby County stay in the Championship, to make this deal happen. He's made 43 appearances this season, 5 goals, 5 assists, 2,935 minutes, and he's played in a range of different positions, from the right hand side to the left hand side, and also in those number 10 roles and that number 9 position. Now, obviously, started his career at Preston, spent time obviously at Blackburn as well, and he's a player who I think Derby County should absolutely take a look at. He's been really impressive in the Championship this season, and should Derby County get the opportunity to pick him up, it would certainly add a ton of options in those wide positions, which is certainly what Derby County need heading into next season, whether that be in the Championship or in League One. I do believe that this deal will have to be Derby County in the Championship if we want to get this one done, but ultimately it's a deal which should be looked at. Now obviously these are my top 10 players who Derby County should take a look at over the course of the summer transfer window. Obviously a lot of these hold on Derby County staying in the Championship, but obviously some of them may potentially happen should we go down to League One. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in my next video.